She heard a weird whistle every night. The cops ignored her complaints and then regretted it. The weird whistling noise drafted through the dark, empty streets lit by moonlight. At first, there was no sign of anyone, but when 3:03 a.m. hit, a strange figure appeared in the distance. It was just as she had described it. The cops were standing there, shocked, watching as it came closer and closer, with the sound growing louder and louder. An extreme feeling of unease crept up their spines. She didn't want to believe it, but it happened again. Eva Maria was lying on her bed, trying desperately to drown out the eerie sound. It wasn't her first time being woken up by it, and it certainly wouldn't be the last. Every night at exactly 3:03 a.m., the weird whistling sound would appear. At first, Eva thought it must have been some kind of owl, but then she realized just how wrong she was. When Eva moved into her new house in the neighborhood she'd been wanting to move to for ages, she was the happiest woman on earth. The houses in the area were ideal for raising a family one day. The houses weren't too big or too small, just perfect. Eva had big plans for the future, but she didn't know that the future had big plans for her. Eva worked as the senior account director for a big marketing firm and wasn't home very often. She had planned it all out. Once she found the love of her life, she would work fewer hours, then start a family and get a dog to guard the house while she was away. Little did she know that she would need some sort of security for her dream house much earlier than she expected. The first time Eva heard the peculiar sound was right after moving into her new house. Since she wasn't really familiar with the neighborhood yet, she thought it must have been a bird or something and slept straight through the noise for a few weeks. However, when the sound started getting louder, she realized the origin was much more alarming. When Eva noticed that the whistle sounded like a human, she immediately pictured an insane man strolling through the streets at night. She started feeling unsafe. She decided to call the police, asking them to do something about it. They didn't take her complaints seriously though, having more important things to do. Oh, how wrong they were. One awful night, things quickly changed from bad to worse. That night, Eva was convinced that there was a person wandering through her neighborhood looking for empty houses. Either that or the neighborhood was haunted. One of those answers was getting close to the truth when the woman heard the whistle right outside her home. She felt sick to her stomach when she realized that whatever it was right outside her front door. Luckily, Eva always made sure to lock all the doors. Nevertheless, she still leapt out of bed and closed her bedroom door, hiding behind it. Her blood ran ice cold as she heard someone or something rattling her door handle. Now it was sure it was trying to get in. Eva could hear her own heartbeat in her ears, pounding away. Her next move was all she could think of. Now, since this was an attempted break-in, the cops couldn't ignore her call. The next day, she reported exactly what happened and asked for a patrol car to survey the area at night. The police agreed and parked opposite her house, investigating the area. Suffice to say, they were not at all prepared for what they were about to see. At first, nothing seemed to be out of the ordinary. Everything seemed normal until the clock hit 3 a.m. It was just like Eva had told them. The weird whistle started up from the other end of the neighborhood. The cops listened in as it came closer and closer. The officers had a sinking feeling in the pits of their stomachs as the sound drifted through the dark, empty streets. Then a strange teenager appeared. She was wearing torn clothing with loose hair, walking barefoot. She was dragging her feet and whistling loudly. There was no expression on her face, and it was terrifying. Without hesitating, the cops rushed out and approached the teen. Then they gasped in horror as they came closer. As they came up, the girl turned to them with a blank face, eyes half open and glazed over. The police were scared out of their minds until they realized the teen was sleepwalking. Taking care not to shock her, one of the officers led the teen to their car while Eva watched. It was the first time the woman plucked up the courage to look out the window at the whistler. When she saw the cops take the strange girl into their car, she breathed out with relief. However, there was one thing she couldn't understand. Why were the cops being so gentle with her, and why weren't they arresting her? She tried breaking into Eva's house. When the teen awoke, she was terrified and confused. Then she came to and explained everything to the police officers. The young lady suffered from a rare kind of sleeping disorder, which triggered at the same time each night. She was aware that she sleepwalked, but she was never aware of what she was doing at night. The girl had no idea she was patrolling the streets, let alone she tried breaking into Eva's house. With a tired look, she nervously approached Ava and apologized for scaring her to that point. Ava was just happy and relieved that it didn't end up being a terrifying, insane stalker.